Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be about how we became accidental beekeepers. Now, you might be wondering, how do you become an accidental beekeeper? I am going to explain that to you. So I'll tell you a bit about the story and about how that came to be. And then I've got some videos that I recorded a little while ago showing, well, not me, but showing my husband doing some things with the bees. And I explain what it is that we have done, since we decided to take on these bees and actually get some more. I haven't been actively involved in the beekeeping. One, because at the moment we only have one beekeeping suit, and so I will plan to get another one so that I can have some confidence to help out with checking the bees and etc. But I also react quite not life-threatening reaction to bee stings, but I do swell up quite a lot from bee stings. I've had 3 bee stings, I think, since we started getting bees. One was my own fault. The second and third were just in the garden. I was in the garden and there were bees around, and I got stung. I've never been stung by a bee my whole life, and yeah, there's been sort of 3 times since we've got these bees. Anyway, beside the point, I'm not doing a lot with the bees myself, but you'll see some videos of what my husband has been doing with the bees and how we've set them up. And those videos were taken before the bushfires that we had in December. And then at the end of those videos, I will then tell you a bit about what's happening with the bees since the bushfire. There's been some wins and some losses. So I'll talk about where we're at the moment and what the situation is now. But just to keep in mind that these videos that I'm going to show you were prior to the bushfires. Okay, so how did we become accidental bushfires? Accidental beekeepers? Well, we had a local person, not local to my town, but in this region, who was a beekeeper and was looking to keep his bees somewhere. And we have 10 acres on the other side of the creek, right at the back of our property. And I said, you can go and leave your bee hives there if you like. There's a separate entrance, so you can come and go as you need to. So he put his bee hives there. Didn't really see him. He sort of, like I said, he came and went when he needed to. And because it's right up the back, we can't see that entrance. So he just did what he needed to do. And then after a little while, he took the beehives away, except for 2 for some reason. He left 2 behind. I then heard that he was no longer doing beekeeping anymore and had moved away from the area. So we had 2 beehives, single boxes out there. He just left them. So one day I was out for a walk out there, and my daughter had told me that one of the beehives, the boxes had been knocked over and the lid had come off. And I think it was because we did have a couple of horses out there for a short period of time. And we think that one of them got a bit curious and has knocked it, and the lid had come off. So I was walking out there one day and thought, I wonder if these hives are active. Like, we didn't even know whether there were still active bees in there. So I went and had a look, and of course the lid was off, and sure enough, they were active. And the other one that was still untouched was still, how it should be. I could see bees coming and going. So I was quite confident that these bees were active. and the hives were active. So I was a little bit silly at this stage and thought I really need to get the lid onto this beehive because they're exposed to the elements. That's not a good thing. I clearly was not thinking very well. I literally just pulled my jumper down over my hands and I went over and quickly picked the lid up and popped it on top and walked away. And I thought that that would be okay. So I did that. I quickly walked away and I sort of looked back and thought, oh, well, that's okay. And as I looked back, a bee came at me and stung me on the head. And I quickly got out of there very quickly. And that's where I sort of I blew up quite a bit from that bee sting. Very silly. Should not have done that with no protection. Um, Also, the bees were not very happy because of the fact that their beehive had been knocked over, their lid was off. So they were probably a little bit more aggressive because they weren't too happy about their situation. Anyway, after that, I said to my husband, I think we need to do something about these bees. Beekeeping was something that we had thought about. We thought that's something we'd like to do in the future. And I said, well, this could be our opportunity. There are 2 boxes there with, seems like there are active hives. Maybe we should take this on. So we got my husband's uncle who lives in our region, in our town, who does bees. He has bees. We got him to come and have a look at the beehives with us just to see whether they were okay, were they healthy, what needed to be done with them. So he came out, they looked at both beehives, and yeah, they were both really good. One was the one that hadn't been knocked over was probably a healthier hive and had a lot more going on. The other one was still fine, but maybe not quite as good. Just needed a little bit of help. So his suggestion was they had been building honeycomb on the top of the frames because they'd run out of room. So his suggestion was we needed to sort of remove that and we needed to get what they call like supplementary boxes that sit on top with new frames so that the bees could move up and have more space to to make their honey and their honeycombs. So we did that. He organised to buy a couple of those for us, plus the frames and a queen separator. It sort of keeps the queen where it is. So he got those for us and we paid him for it, and we set those up. He also had a flow hive at his house. Not a, I don't know if you've heard of flow hives before, but you can go and look them up. They're a style of beehive where you can harvest the honey via a tap rather than pulling frames out. Now, there's positives and negatives that I've read about the flow hive. There's obviously concern that because it's so easy to keep the bees, that people who are inexperienced might not, manage the bees and check them as much as they should, and may not know what they're doing with the bees. But then there's the other side, which says that the harvesting of the honey by turning the tap, and what it does is you have these cells in the frames that then open up and allow the honey to drip out. And the proponents, I guess, say that this is less stressful to the bees, that you're harvesting honey without pulling out frames and disrupting the beehive, and also that you lose less bees because when you're harvesting honey, you do end up losing some bees. So there's positives and negatives. It was something I had looked into. He had one of these. It wasn't the official flow hive, the expensive proper ones. It was kind of like a Chinese knockoff of a flow hive, pretty much the same, but it was like a cheaper version. He had one that was given to him by a relative that didn't want to do bees anymore. He didn't particularly want the flow hive, and he said, "Do you want to buy that as well?" And we bought it for pretty cheap. We also got some beekeeping equipment and one beekeeping outfit. So we purchased that. So we then had 2 beehives plus a flow hive. And we put the supplementary boxes on top so that the bees, and frames so that the bees had more space to do their thing. So that's how we became accidental beekeepers. It is not how I would recommend you take on beekeeping. I think beekeeping can be fantastic. You can even do it if you've got a smaller yard. You don't have to have lots of land. But my recommendation is that you should learn about beekeeping first, do a course or whatever it might be, then find some local beekeepers, at least one that can be like your mentor and that can help you out while you're still new to beekeeping, and then look at getting your bees. We did it the wrong way around, but these bees were there anyway. They needed looking after, so we figured, well, let's just jump in and do this beekeeping, even though we probably should have done all the learning before we got the bees, but they're already there. So we're still learning. We're still learning about beekeeping, and we do have someone local, my husband's uncle, to call on if we don't know what to do or something seems not right, or we're concerned or whatever. He can come and help us out. So we at least have support. I certainly wouldn't recommend going it yourself, particularly if you're a beginner. So I don't recommend doing it this way. It is just what happened to us, and we've taken it on. It was something we thought we would do one day, so we thought, well, here we go. We're going to do it. Anyway, now so that's the story behind how it happened and why we became accidental beekeepers. The next videos that I'm going to show you now are videos that show you what we're doing with the bees. And then the very last video I will film and give you an update on what's happening with our bees since the bushfires came through.
Just putting 10 of these in this first box. I'll put 10 in the second one, and that'll be a 10 stack super, they call them, apparently.
Apparently.
So there's your 10. So by rights, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They should start with their honey in the middle one here. So I'll give it a couple of weeks. I'll come back and I'll check these and see if it's starting in there. See if this works. So everything's down in the bottom box at the moment. We want the queen bee to stay at the bottom and the workers to come up here into this one here and give us some yummy honey. So we'll see how we go.
Okay, we've just come over to the beehives again. So we need to put what they call super boxes on the top, because we've only got the base box. That's all that got left behind, and that is full of honey and honeycomb. And we're going to put these supers on top so that the bees can move up into the top box and start making honey on fresh frames. The only issue is that this box, and I'm going to show you in a moment because my husband is just, I'm sitting in the car because we've only got one suit, and we need to get another one, and I'm still not very confident around bees. And I just got stung again this morning, but not over here near the hives. I was in the veggie garden, so still feeling pretty nervous around them. So I'm sitting in the car. I'll show you in a moment, but the hive, the bottom box has got a lot of honeycomb over the top. So he needs to try to scrape that off. in order to fit the super box on the top. So that's what he's doing at the moment. He wasn't very confident about, because there's a fair bit, he wasn't very confident about how he'd go, but he's now got a bucket. He's going to try and scrape off that top honeycomb, pop it into the bucket, and hopefully then the super, the other box, will sit on the top. So we'll see how that goes. They're probably not too happy with him scraping all that up and disturbing them. And ideally, you wouldn't let the boxes get to this point where all the honeycomb is being built on top of the frames, which is why we have stepped in and decided to take on the care of these hives, so that they are looked after properly. Okay, so he's got the super on by the looks of things. You've got a lot of bees buzzing around you.
I know I do.
Alright, so this is the second bee box.
Since we fixed that one the other week,
Yep.
they're a lot happier. They're not as like they were really angry the
Yeah,
other week. This week,
yeah.
like they seemed a lot better.
Yeah.
So we'll see how we go.
Hopefully this one will be a bit easier to get on as well, because we've already scraped the excess honeycomb off the top. So this one might be a little bit simpler, hopefully. We'll see. Bluetooth. Waiting for connection. Bluetooth is connected. Okay, so there is still plenty of honey on the top. I don't know what he's going to do with it all. He didn't really bring any. Do you want the little bucket?
Yeah, grab it.
Oh, I don't think I'm going to bring it to you. All right, hang on.
Throw it at me.
Okay, so I just threw him a bucket because I didn't want to get too close. I should put the window down actually, because it's a bit hard to see through here. Right. We scraped a fair bit off, and there's already quite a bit on the top. Okay, so the super box going on now.
That look alright?
I think so. And then the lid. But thankfully, we still have our flow hive.